April 18th, 1942. Tokyo is burning. But not from bombs, from something far more dangerous. Fear. 4 months earlier, Japan had been unstoppable Pearl Harbor, Singapore, the Philippines, victory after victory. The Emperor's forces had crushed everyone. They thought America was weak, soft, defeated. They were wrong. January 5th, 1942. Admiral Yamamoto sits in his flagship. Reports flood in from across the Pacific. Every single one brings news of triumph. His staff celebrates. They want to push harder, conquer more. But Yamamoto doesn't smile. He knows something they don't. He studied in America, lived there for years. He knows what happens when you awaken a sleeping giant. We have 6 months, he tells his aide. Maybe a year. Then everything changes. His staff thinks he's being paranoid. The turning point. Yamamoto proposes a bold plan. Attack Midway Island. Destroy America's carriers. Force them to negotiate peace. It's Japan's only chance. But he needs time. Time to prepare. Time to position his forces. Time Japan doesn't have. Because 16 American bombers are about to change everything. The impossible mission. Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle has a crazy idea. Launch Army bombers from a Navy carrier. Something that's never been done. The B-25 is too heavy. The runway too short. The mission too dangerous. Everyone says it's suicide. Doolittle volunteers anyway, so do his men. Every single one. They know the odds. They don't care. This isn't about destroying Japan, it's about sending a message. The raid, April 18th. The USS Hornet pitches in rough seas. 16 bombers lined up on deck. Wings almost touching. Each plane has 467 feet of runway. They need 500. Doolittle goes first. The Hornet rises on a wave. His bomber drops toward the ocean. Then climbs. He made it. 15 more follow. Hours later, they reach Tokyo lunchtime. No air raid sirens, no fighters scrambling, because this is impossible. American bombers can't reach Japan. Everyone knows that the bombs fall. Not many, not powerful, but they fall on the Emperor's palace, on military factories, on the heart of the Japanese Empire. The damage is minimal, 50 people dead, a few buildings destroyed, but the psychological damage, catastrophic. In Tokyo, people panic. The government said they were invincible. The government lied. If American bombers can reach Tokyo once, they can do it again. No one is safe, not even the Emperor. At Imperial headquarters, generals argue. Some want to find the carriers, some want revenge, some want to abandon offensive operations entirely. The unity that drove Japan's expansion? Shattered Admiral Yamamoto gets his wish. The Midway operation is approved immediately. Not in months. Now. Right now. Because Japan's leadership is terrified. They need a decisive victory. They need it fast. They rush the planning. Here's what the Doolittle Raid actually accomplished. It forced Japan to attack before they were ready at Midway. Japan commits everything. 4 fleet carriers. Their best pilots. Their entire strategic reserve. They're so focused on destroying America's carriers that they forget basic precautions, no proper reconnaissance, no backup plans, no flexibility. June 4th, 1942. The Battle of Midway begins. In 5 minutes, 3 Japanese carriers are burning. By day's end, all 4 are gone. Japan's offensive capability? Dead. The pilots who made them unstoppable? Dead. The strategic initiative? Dead, all because 16 bombers dropped a few tons of bombs on Tokyo. But there's another story here, the one Japan doesn't talk about. After the raid, Japanese authorities panic. They need someone to blame. Chinese civilians helped Doolittle's crews escape. Japan's response is medieval. Operation Seigo. The Zhejiang-Jiangxi campaign, 250,000 Chinese civilians murdered. Entire villages wiped out. Biological weapons tested. All because they showed mercy to American airmen. 8 of Doolittle's raiders are captured. 3 are executed. 1 dies of disease. 4 survive prison camps. The cost of embarrassing the empire. Back in Washington, America goes wild. After months of defeat, finally a victory. A symbolic one, sure, but symbols matter, especially in war morale skyrockets. Where did the bombers come from? Reporters ask Roosevelt. He smiles. Shangri-La, he says, the mythical paradise. Americans love it. The Japanese high command knows better. They know carriers were involved. They know America is coming, and they're terrified. This fear drives every decision they make midway. Guadalcanal, the island-hopping campaign. Japan keeps reacting instead of acting. All traced back to one morning in April. Let's be honest about what happened. Yamamoto was right all along. Japan needed a negotiated peace. After Singapore fell, Britain might have listened. After the Philippines, America might have negotiated, but the Doolittle Raid changed the equation. You don't negotiate with an enemy that can bomb your capital. You destroy them, or they destroy you. Japan chose destruction. They accelerated Midway. They gambled everything. They lost. And Yamamoto knew it was over. He knew from the moment those bombs fell. I fear all we have done is awaken a sleeping giant, he'd said after Pearl Harbor. The Doolittle Raid proved him right. Here's the insane part. 16 planes, 80 men, one impossible mission. Changed the entire course of the Pacific War, not because of what they destroyed, because of what they revealed. Japan wasn't invincible, America wasn't defeated, and the war was far from over. Military historians still debate this. What if Doolittle never launched? What if Japan had more time to prepare for Midway? What if they'd won that battle? The entire timeline shifts, but that's not what happened. What happened is that 80 Americans volunteered for a suicide mission, knowing they probably wouldn't come back, knowing the strategic impact was minimal, but understanding something deeper. Wars aren't just fought with weapons. They're fought with will, with psychology, with the belief that victory is possible. Japan had that belief in January 1942. By May, they'd lost it, 68 seconds over Tokyo. That's how long each bomber was over the target. 68 seconds that changed history. Because war isn't about who has more ships, or more planes, or more soldiers. It's about who believes they can win, and who's too terrified to think straight. The Doolittle Raid didn't win the war, but it won something more valuable. It won the psychological battle. Japan spent the rest of the war reacting to phantoms, seeing American carriers everywhere, expecting bombers overhead, living in fear. April 18, 1942, 16 bombers took off from the USS Hornet. 15 crash-landed in China. 1 made it to Russia. The crews scattered. Most survived. Some didn't. Jimmy Doolittle thought he'd be court-martialed. Instead, he got the Medal of Honor, because he understood what his superiors didn't. Sometimes the greatest weapon isn't a bomb, it's doubt. And on that spring morning, he planted doubt in the heart of an empire. Doubt that grew into fear. Fear that grew into mistakes. Mistakes that cost Japan the war. All from a raid that accomplished nothing. Remember that the next time someone tells you symbols don't matter, they matter more than anything. Because wars are won in the mind before they're won on the battlefield. And Japan lost theirs over Tokyo in 68 seconds.